right, man. February 2023 Blu-rays. February is the month of romance. Valentine's Day is coming up. Maybe you want to buy your loved one a film or two or three, or maybe you want to buy yourself a couple films, or do whatever you want, man. We got plenty of good titles this month, so we're gonna just go right into it, man. So on February 6th in the U.S., from SRS Sub Rosa Studios, we have Hugh Gallagher's Gore trilogy getting a re-release. This was previously released on DVD and Blu-ray, and these are 90s SOV horror films, a loose trilogy, really in name only. You have Goregasm, Gorotica, and Gore Horror. All three of which are good films. They're good in their own right. A lot of my acquaintances seem to find Gorotica to be the best of the three. I'm more of a Goregasm kind of guy. I think the story in that one is a little bit better than the other two. But Gore Horror is also very good as well. The main thing that I was curious about with this release that I actually didn't look up is that I thought that an issue that I have sometimes with SRS's releases is the lack of features on a lot of them. And I remember the DVDs not having many. And I imagine that the Blu-rays maybe didn't have any either. I really don't know. But I remember once, after I had seen Gore Horror, I went to go look up Hugh Gallagher, and a interesting featurette came up about that film, about the making of that film, how the actors worked together, how they filmed the car stuff. It was all very interesting, but wasn't on at least the DVD release that I had. Maybe it was on the Blu-ray, I don't know. But I'm hoping that with this re-release, that it'll actually have some features, because sometimes when it comes to SRS, it's a little tricky to spend top dollar on what can sometimes be a very bare bones release. But if you haven't seen these films before and you're a fan of 90s shot on video, definitely check these out. They're also very short. I think all three of them are about an hour each. In the UK on this day, continuing on with the Radiance film line of new titles, we have Miami Blues from 1990 and A Woman Kills from 1968. And I haven't picked up any of their releases yet, but everything that I've heard so far from them has been terrific. Brian Sauer's been very high on it. He just posted a video talking about how much he really enjoyed Big Time Gambling Boss, which is one that I really want to see, along with The Working Class Goes to Heaven. I believe these are getting US releases on the same day as well, because in the UK, Radiance have a handful of other titles that haven't been released here, to my knowledge. Also on this day in the UK from Fun City is Cutter's Way. I think I've talked about this film before on the show, but this is the Jeff Bridges, John Hurt film, one that I really like a lot. I've picked up the Fun City Blue that came out, and I haven't rewatched it yet. This previously had a release from Twilight Time, but just a real gem for sure. This is one that I think a lot of cult film fans know about, but still isn't in the general kind of conscious yet. Speaking of which, I noticed that Fun City are no longer going to be distributing their titles through OCN. They are going to be distributing exclusively through MVD. They have one more release in the works that'll be through OCN, but I think Party Girl will be their first MVD release. So it is disappointing because it was nice getting the cheaper titles from Vinegar Syndrome's site with the discount code. But I'll keep buying whatever they put out because I've yet to be disappointed in anything that I've seen. In the US, on February 7th, we have some 4K upgrades coming. We have Shout Factory doing a 4K upgrade of Don Coscarelli's Bubba Hotep from 2002 with Bruce Campbell and Ozzie Davis. It's been a very long time since I've seen this film. I think the last time I saw this film was probably in middle school, but I remember liking it a lot. I think this was around the same time I had actually seen the original Phantasm, and I'd been familiar that Don Coscarelli had made these films. I'd love to see a re-release of John Dies at the End, which I think has a pretty standard Blu-ray from Magnet. I'd love to see that get picked up, but this... I don't know what year this came out from Scream Factory, but I remember when the slipcovers were becoming collectible and people were being really aware of the artwork. This was one that I remember popping up a lot, but I never picked up that release, so curious about this one as well. And another 4K upgrade coming from the Criterion Collection is Krzysztof Kieslowski's Three Colors trilogy of Blue, White, and Red. I think these are pretty well-known French films, the final works of Krzysztof Kieslowski. famous as well for the Decalogue series of films, or I should say Decalogue series. I don't know how you want to put it. Now, the thing I'm curious about with this that I've become a little weary on when it comes to future Criterion 4K upgrades is that so they've been upgrading a lot of titles, Night of the Living Dead and The Virgin Suicides, and God, I'm drawing a blank on some of these titles. But either way, I remember hearing somebody talk about that some of the 4K releases they were doing, the 4K re-releases, I should say, they weren't new transfers of the films. They were just 4K upgrades from the previous transfer they put out. And I remember they were specifically talking about Night of the Living Dead on that. Now, I believe that because Yanis put this out, and as well, I think they put out the because this got put out theatrically in 4K, as well recently as the Apu trilogy, which also has a release from Criterion. So I don't know who is doing the transfers on these. I imagine that if they're getting these new theatrical releases, they would be new transfers overall, but I really can't say for sure. So if you're interested, and if you already have these releases and you're interested in upgrading, I would just be wary of that, or not wary, that's not the right word. I would say just keep in mind whether or not these are actually new transfers or not, and whether or not you feel like you need to upgrade. I'm not going to upgrade. I already have the Blu-ray set, and I'm fine with that. They look great as is. And there's a just pretty terrific film, so there's not really a whole lot I can say about it on that. Return of Swamp Thing 4K. I've actually never seen this one. I think this is a Lionsgate title, but I've seen. I only bring this up because I see a lot of people already have their copies of it, and kind of interested in that. VHS 99, which I haven't seen, but I want to mention because this is a Shudder exclusive, and I'm glad this is getting a Blu-ray as well. I recently talked about Skinamarink, which is a Shudder exclusive, and I really hope that gets a Blu-ray as well, because I've mentioned before with all these streaming services, with Shudder or Netflix or Amazon, that a lot of them are not coming to Blu-ray unless somebody else picks them up, like a Criterion. So I'm glad to see that this is getting put out. I haven't seen this one. I didn't see 94 either. The VHS films really aren't for me. I enjoyed some of the second one, but I really didn't like the first or the third. But people seem to like them, so that's coming here. I also noticed here from, I think, Radiance Films, not Radiance, I'm sorry, Media Blasters, that Pinocchio 964 still is not out. I remember talking about this in, I think, November, honestly, and I thought this got released, but I guess not. I hadn't seen this film, and I was holding off on watching it because I found a low quality version on YouTube, and I didn't want to watch it because I saw it was coming out. So it looks like this is getting delayed, and so let's hope that actually comes out this time, as well as getting a couple standard editions, one from Mono Macabro of Don't Deliver Us from Evil, as well as Massacre Video of what the hell is that called? That Feeling When No Girlfriend, or that Face One, I don't know what it's called. The documentary that put out by, what the hell's her name? Alex Lee something. She just had a new documentary out. On this day as well, Cult Epics are having their standard edition of Julia, the Sylvia Crystal film. There's been a lot of evaluations of Sylvia Crystal's work as an actor in terms of her films being rediscovered. Cult Epic's been doing a lot. A lot of her titles have been popping up on the Criterion channel. So I have not seen this one, and but it's really cool that they're putting these out, because as well as I forgot the guy's name, but there was a big coffee table book that just came out of Sylvia Crystal's work that I've been interested in checking out. I don't buy a lot of coffee table books, but it's cool that she is actually getting the attention that she rightfully deserves. Actually, I'm in the middle of reading her autobiography right now. February 13th in the UK, from Arrow Video, speaking of Criterion, we have Bernardo Bertolucci's The Last Emperor coming to 4K. This has been a Criterion Blu-ray in the States and DVD for a while. Have not seen this film. I've actually not as knowledgeable on Bertolucci's films, but I think if I do plan on watching this one in the near future, I'll definitely be importing this, because Arrow's 4Ks have been pretty fantastic across the board. I have yet to watch any. I only own a handful of their 4Ks, but all of them I will always go for those editions. It looks like Indicator still have not put out The Big Gun Down and Enter Santo. I've talked about this for now my third month, and these are still not out. So just heads up if you're looking for those. They've been delayed again. Let's see here. Another Giallo Essential set is coming out, and I gotta look here because I don't know if this is actually new titles or not, because Arrow has put out a couple of Giallo Essentials, and some of them are new titles, some of them are just re-releases. So, but I can't click on it because Blu-ray site is acting up on me, so we'll have to skip on that for now. On Valentine's Day, February 14th in the U.S., Steven Spielberg's The Fabelmans coming to 4K. Just talked about that on the last episode of Cozy Corner. Interesting film, liked it quite a bit. From Criterion, a timely release of Romeo and Juliet from 1968. I don't know if I've actually seen this whole film or not. This stars with Olivia Hussey, and there was a I don't know if whatever happened to the lawsuit recently. They were the two leads, Olivia Hussey and the actor whose name I'll pull up here, were trying to sue Michael York. Were trying to sue. I don't even know who they were trying to sue. Some insane amount of money for saying that they were doing underage nudity and they weren't okay with it. But I read a little bit on it, and somebody linked an interview where they 2019 or sometime recently they said they were okay with it. So I really don't know. There was some question, I think, as to whether or not that would affect this release, and it had no effect. And I do want to pick this one up, though. I remember watching part of this in school, and I don't think I ever saw all of it. But Olivia Hussey, I think, is just is a really good actor of that time, most famous for Black Christmas. But I'm actually curious about this one to watch it from beginning to end. It looks like Decision to Leave got delayed from Mubi. I talked about that last month. This one's really cool. We got the Francois Truffaut collection coming from Kino, and I have not seen these 4 films. I've seen actually quite a bit of Truffaut, but not the ones here, which is funny because one of these I actually almost just watched recently. I have The Wild Child, Small Change, The Man Who Loved Women, and The Green Room. And The Man Who Loved Women I almost watched within the past month or two, I think. I've already seen that this, I think some people have already gotten their copies of this at the time of recording this, but we'll definitely be grabbing this for sure, because Truffaut is one of those filmmakers who the more work I've discovered of him, the more I've just grown such an appreciation for his work, and he's one of the big French filmmakers of that era that him and Eric Romer, I found myself the most attracted to their work. I get the most out. Oh, geez Louise, man, that scared the hell out of me. Oh, man, what the hell? What the hell's going on here? Jeez Louise, man, Blu-ray, you gotta fix your site, man. There's too many damn ads on this thing, man. Jeez Louise, scared the hell out of me. On this day as well, speaking of Shudder films, Dario Argento's Dark Glasses, his newest film, newest directed film, is getting a Blu-ray. This had been out previously before for a couple months, I think, overseas. I think there was an Italian Blu-ray or something like this. The movie's not bad. I don't think it is anything spectacular. Which is fine. I think people are just, because I haven't seen his last couple of films. I didn't see Dracula. I didn't see Mother of Tears. I didn't see Giallo. Truthfully, his newer work, I don't think his newer work is as bad as people say it is. I think people kind of over hype how bad some of his new stuff is. I'm just not too terribly interested in it. But Dark Glasses was fine. Some acquaintances of mine said they really liked it. Others were kind of mixed on it. I'm kind of mixed on it. Nothing really stood out as being exceptional. It's an interesting plot, but it's not one that I'm going to rewatch again. But it is cool that it is getting a release as well as the Enter Santo collection coming from Indicator in the U.S. Fingers crossed on that. I noticed this. I don't know if this is a re-release or not, but 3 Days of the Condor from 1975 with Faye Dunaway and Robert Redford. I don't know if this got a previous release or not, or this is a re-release, but it will now be available again on this day. Alright, on February 20th in the UK, got a couple new titles coming, 2022 titles. After Sun is getting a Blu-ray from Mubi, and Triangle of Sadness is getting a Blu-ray as well. Triangle of Sadness, I've mentioned before, is coming to Criterion soon, I think in March or April in the States with a 4K. But at the time of recording this, After Sun does not have a Blu-ray announced. And I have not talked about After Sun on the show, but it was one of the best films I saw last year.
Did you have a good holiday then?
The best. Wish we could have stayed for longer.
Me too. What?
I mean, why can't we?
What do you mean?
Can't we just stay here? Can't live in hotels for the rest of our lives.
Yeah.
Beautiful film, really just stuck with me. Great performances by the two. I thought it was just such a beautiful film, man. It's just one of the highlights of the year for sure. A couple titles from Eureka coming, Magnificent Warriors and Violent Streets, that I have not seen, so I can't comment on, but I just wanted to bring that up briefly. On February 21st in the U.S., we have a 4K upgrade of Dazed and Confused from Criterion.
Yeah, I mean, come on, Pete. I can't believe this. You act like you're so oppressed. And you guys are kings of the skull. You get away with whatever you want. What are you bitching about?
Well, look, I mean, all I'm saying is that if I ever start referring to these as the best years of my life, remind me to kill myself.
Well, all I'm saying is I just want to look back and say that I did it the best I could while I was stuck in this place. Had as much fun as I could when I was stuck in this place. Played as hard as I could when I was stuck in this place. Dogged as many chicks as I could when I was stuck in this place.
Richard Linklater's 1993 high school stoner classic, pretty much. I mean, this is a film that the more times I've watched it, the more it's just gotten better and better. What Richard Linklater does with these characters is that he's able to really have this mellow kind of hangout feel, but still have it be relatable in a way where, as I watched the film, even though I didn't hang with a lot of these kinds of people, you know, a lot of the jocks or the stoners, things like that, there's still a relatability there that when Richard Linklater gets right, he really gets right. And I think for the most of his filmography, man, I like most of his films. Some I'm not too crazy about, but this is one that I think, I mean, it might be my favorite film of his. I think it's just a total masterpiece. Now, I do have this Blu-ray already, so I'm not going to be upgrading, especially because I don't know if it's a new transfer or not. But it is there if you don't already have it. A upgrade coming from Shout Select, The Magnificent Seven in 4K. One of the great westerns of the 60s. This just has an all-star cast behind it. You got Yul Brynner, Eli Wallach, Charles Bronson, Steve McQueen. I'm not crazy about this cover art. It's just primarily focusing on Yul Brynner and Steve McQueen. I'm not the biggest fan of it. But it's not bad either. I already have the Blu-ray of this, so I might upgrade this, but I imagine that the Blu-ray of The Magnificent Seven Rides Again will come at some point. I think they already has a double Blu-ray with the first film. But either way, it's just one of the great westerns of the 60s. One of the great pre-Wild Bunch westerns. This was remade in 2016, I think, with Denzel Washington. And I don't really remember much of that film. But as well, coming from Scream Factory, 4K upgrade of the Slumber Party Massacre 1 and 2. Now, what's interesting about this is that, so the Blu-ray of Slumber Party Massacre 2 and 3 is very out of print. It goes for, I think, like 100 plus bucks online. I have the Blu-ray. I paid like $20 for it, and I'm not the biggest fan of the series. I like the first one quite a bit, and the second one is okay, but I don't have them. I don't really have them in this like, high regard. But these are considered classics of their kind, so I totally get it. I do wonder if the pricing of the Blu-ray for 2 and 3 will, if this release will affect that at all. I really don't know. I haven't really seen many people trying to sell off that release or not. I don't know if these are just new transfers or new features or what, but it is there. So that is cool. It is at least getting a double and not singular releases. As well as Shout Select is putting out, or Shout Factory are putting out Dragonheart on 4K. I've seen this film once, and I don't remember a thing about it, man. Dennis Quaid and Sean Connery's a dragon or something. I have no clue, man. But it's there, man. As well as Blue Underground has a couple 4Ks coming. Now, these are two that I've always seen pop up, but I don't know a thing about them, and I've not seen them. This is Eugenie and Justine. I think these are, I don't know if these are softcore films or what, but I've seen these pop up a bunch, and I've never picked up these releases, so I'm definitely be keeping an eye on that. As well as I should also mention Magnificent Warriors is also coming to Blu-ray on this day as well. And one that I wanted to mention because an acquaintance of mine is very excited for it. This is the Kino Lorber release of Silent Avant-Garde Cinema. This is a collection of 21... Let's see, it says 21 experiments with silent film and new music. I really don't know much about this, but he's pretty high on this release. He's very excited for it, so this is one you might want to keep on your radar. Another new release is a film I've talked about recently, Hirokazu Kurita's Broker. Love this film. This is one of the best films of 2022. Incredibly touching, funny, heartfelt. It's just a beautiful film, man. This is one of the best films. This and After Sun are really up there as being my favorites of the year for sure, along with, I mentioned before, Banshees of Inisherin and Montana Story. Also on this day, one that I've talked about a lot on the show before, but I just want to mention, Sam Mendes's Empire of Light, which is a film that I liked a lot, but I don't think got too seen because it got some pretty mixed reviews, but wanted to bring it up in case you were interested, as well as The Inspection, which was another film that I hadn't talked about on the show yet, but really liked this film, man. I don't know who the lead actor is, but he's terrific in the film. Likes this actor, Jeremy Pope. He's a guy who he's all on his own. He's gay, and he decides to join the military, and just the daily life, he tries to get through, being gay and dealing with it. You hear a premise like that, you think it's gonna be cliche, and it's just not. It's a terrific film that A24 released, but I didn't really hear many people talk about. So just keep an eye on that if you are interested, or if it sounds interesting to you. I think it was one of the better films of 2022. On February 27th in the UK is a big day. George Romero's Martin is coming to 4K from Second Sight Films. This has a couple editions with it.
My name is Martin. I'm 84 years old. People think I'm crazy when I tell them how old I am. I'd like to be normal. I just have a sickness. The only way I can survive is by drinking blood.
A big edition in 4K, a standard 4K, and a regular Blu-ray. This is one that's been hyped up for a lot of people for a long time, man. Not just this release, but a good release of it. This previously had a Japanese Blu-ray that I owned, and I think a lot of people owned. This also had a DVD from Arrow Video that was just UK. But this is one of Romero's best films, man. This is one that I think, because of the lack of availability, that this is... Romero fans know about it, but generally, if you're looking at his body of work, it's quick to jump to the Dead trilogy and miss out on a film like this that just holds up so well. I think this is one of the things that makes Romero so great, is how he directs his actors. The characters in this film, there's this great tension in this film, great sequences, the whole theme about loneliness and being forgotten. It's just, man, this is really just a total... I need to rewatch it. I definitely am going to pick up this release, but this is a total masterpiece, man. As well, from Arrow UK, a 4K of The Sisters Brothers with Joaquin Phoenix and John C. Reilly. This was a Western from 2018 that I liked a lot. I didn't rewatch for the 2018 episode because I knew it wasn't going to make the list, but this was one that I really enjoyed. It also has Riz Ahmed and Jake Gyllenhaal. A dark comedy for sure, more dark than comedy, but it has a handful of comedic moments. As well as these two got delayed from 88 Films was House on the Edge of the Park and The Hell of Living Dead. I had mentioned those briefly. Okay, so jumping back, that's it for the UK. So jumping back into the US, on February 28th, we got a couple big heavy hitters this day. First up from Kino, we have Marathon Man. This is from 1976. You have Dustin Hoffman, directed by John Schlesinger. One of the great thrillers of the 70s, man. Roy Scheider in the film as well. Laurence Olivier. Oh, man, what a terrific film. This does have a previous release, not from Kino. I don't know who from, so it'll all depend on... Because Kino are a little weird with some of their transfers sometimes. Like, it's a whole other conversation, but I don't know if I'll be upgrading this or not. But if you haven't seen this film, and I think this is one that, speaking of a film like 3 Days of the Condor earlier, that is just one of the seminal, great thrillers of the 70s. Well, I think the big one that a lot of people have been waiting for is finally the Texas Chainsaw Massacre on 4K. I'm really surprised this didn't come sooner. This is being released by, actually, at the time I'm recording this today, Second Sight have announced their own 4K coming of it. Forgot to delete that. This is being released by MPI Media Group. I am not familiar with them, but I mean, either way, there's been a lot of 4Ks of Texas Chainsaw Massacre in the past couple of years, a lot of German releases, but this is the first time it's actually getting a good, actual release. Hopefully. We'll see what happens with it. Another 4K upgrade on this day is the Rocky Collection. Now, this is just the first 4, which is a little disappointing. Now, the upside of this is that this does include the new director's cut of Rocky 4, the Rocky vs. Drago cut, which is very good. I'm actually glad that it's getting a release as well, because I had initially rented that and I didn't know if it was going to get a release. However, from what I heard, I think I heard Stallone is doing another director's cut of Rocky 5, which, unpopular opinion, I actually like Rocky 5 quite a bit. And this does not include Rocky 5 or Balboa. The previous heavyweight collection had the first 6, so it's a little disappointing that this is not going to have those. I'm curious in the transfer of these. I already have the heavyweight collection. I mean, this is a series that just means the world to me. The first Rocky film has been a big part of my life, and so I think I'm gonna wait for word of mouth on whether or not I want to upgrade this or not, if it is worth it. But if not, I'll probably end up grabbing the Rocky 4 4K for that Rocky versus Drago cut. And another one of my favorite films, Antoine Fuqua's 2001 film Training Day with Denzel Washington and Ethan Hawke is getting a 4K on this day, and I can't tell if this is just okay, it looks like, okay, the picture's confusing at first. I thought it was initially just a steelbook, but it's going to be a regular 4K as well as a Best Buy exclusive steelbook. Again, not sure if I'll upgrade on this, but this is just one of my favorite films. It's just, every time I watch it, it holds up more and more. Absolutely terrific. Some of the Severin titles are getting standard releases on this day. Jess Franco's Sex is Crazy. I Miss You, Hugs and Kisses, which was video nasty. And Drugged Up Are Doing the Dogs is getting a standard release. I'm actually going to grab this release of I Miss You, Hugs and Kisses, because sometimes Severin's prices on their website are a bit much for some of these titles. Coming from Criterion on this day, which is a really great title to get, from 1987, this is Hollywood Shuffle, written, directed, and starring Robert Townsend. And this had a previous Blu Ray release that I did not pick up. I had watched this on TCM, but this is just a really terrific film, man, about a guy who's trying to become an actor and the different scenarios that he gets into, kind of talking about some of the roles that African Americans have been playing in Hollywood and stuff. But a very funny film, very good film. This was one of the better announcements I had seen from them of recent memory, and one that I'm going to be grabbing up for sure during the sale. Now, this is interesting. We have a re-release of Francis Ford Coppola's Twixt as a new cut of the film. Previously, he had done the new cut of The Godfather Part 3, entitled this time Coda, The Death of Michael Corleone, and this one is now called Betwixt Now and Sunrise. And I remember when Twixt came out, which I haven't seen, I remember it got pretty bad reviews. I had never seen it because I think I just, for whatever reason, seeing his newer work didn't interest me all that much, even though not too long ago, last year, I watched his film Tetro, which I liked a lot. I actually thought I would love to see that get a new Blu-ray release. But this I am curious about. I'm curious about to watch now the actual version of the film, but I've heard a lot of complaints about the writing and the green screen, and I really can't say for sure, but it's interesting. At least he's doing it, Also on this day, there's something I want to mention before. A newer title that I'll talk about soon on the next episode, but of Cozy Corner, but just want to mention is God's Country. This is one that I don't think a lot of people saw. This stars, what the hell's her name? Thandie Newton. A really solid, really drama thriller. If you think you're watching one thing and then it's actually something else entirely. Very great character-driven film. Great performance by Thandie Newton and the other two fellows whose name I don't know. But yeah, just want to give a heads up on this because I don't think a lot of people ended up seeing this one. So a lot of stuff this month. A lot of titles. A lot of 4K upgrades. I also didn't mention that Puppet Master 3 is getting a 4K as well on the 24th in the US, but plenty there to choose from, so there's got to be something here for everybody, Geez Louise, man, on the 27th alone, what are you talking about? You got, or 28th actually, you got either, a thriller like Training Day, a drama like Rocky, a horror film like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, or another thriller like Marathon Man. Plenty of good stuff this month, no shortage of titles to choose from, so thanks for listening, do it all again next month.